Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Skraby Show for July 8th, 2024. Padres off day. I was going to say I don't think I've done a Monday Skraby Show in a while, and then I realized last week I did. So there we go. I'm back at it, everyone. Already making mistakes. Things are great. Tonight, we are going to talk about the Padres All-Star selections. We are also going to talk about kind of this last series that happened with the Padres against the Diamondbacks. Again, quick preview. I am not going to be mad about it, but I am a little disappointed in how the series went. We'll talk about that. Also, Joe Burrow. Before we ended Gwen and Chris, talked about the NFL is coming up in about a month. The Hall of Fame game is less than a month away, and fantasy football is going to be starting up. Well, Joe Burrow, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, has a suggestion for if they ever go to 18 games, what should they do for rest? What should they do with players? All that stuff. So we'll go over that a little bit later. And I got to say, Joe and I kind of thinking alike. I've been saying this for a very, very long time. So we'll talk about that. Also, I want to talk about Enyel De Los Santos a little bit because, yesterday he can pitch really well and then he can also give up a ton of runs. And I think I kind of have the reason for that. I think maybe some of you may disagree with me, but we'll get into Enyel De Los Santos in a little bit. Plus, people on the chat are waiting for the Paul Skeens rant. And let me just say, Paul Skeens, I'm not going to rant about him like the person because I don't know him and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to rant about the way the media is just doing everything they can to crown this guy as the best pitcher that's ever pitched. And I know that was a little bit of an overreaction by saying best pitcher that's ever pitched, but this guy's started 10 games, been really, 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 really good. Like, I'm not saying that he's not good. And I'm not saying that he's not exciting to watch. I'm just saying the media has blown this out of proportion, in my opinion. And so I did a little research on just a little research. And so we'll share that with you a little bit later. Also, possibly more of the LeBron James conversation that we were just having. And then at the end of the show, we have the Daily Gripe. Now, I was debating on whether or not to say this, but I am I'm a self-conscious person. I don't really like when people look at me. I don't like taking pictures. And when I was little, people used to, make fun of me when, for being a little chubby. They used to do the whole Pillsbury Doughboy thing. But what really got to me when I was a kid is when they called me Dracula because my eyes, sometimes I get bags under my eyes because, I'm from I'm from Lithuania, my family is, so there you go. But I did not sleep well last night. And I have been dreading being on camera all day because I feel like I look like a crypt keeper a little bit. So if you want to see if I look like a crypt keeper, you can go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan, and you can check it out. The lighting is actually very good right now, but if there's certain angles of crypt keeper, you can see it. I don't know. It's just something I've never been able to get over. And the older I get, the better it gets. Like, the more I don't care. Like, obviously, I'm on camera right now, so I don't really care that much. But it's a weird thing for me. I've always done this. I didn't ever take pictures as a kid with my family. My mom used to make me take pictures with them, and then I would make some face that would ruin the picture. So it's just been a strange thing that I've done my entire life. But again, if you would like to see what I look like, or if you would like to watch a show with everybody else, you can just go to search YouTube 97.3 The Fan and you will find it. Facebook 97.3 The Fan, Twitch 97.3 The Fan, and then X 97.3 The Fan SD. Dan says I look fine. I know. The reason that I didn't want to say anything is because I know it's all in my head. But as a guy who is on the radio, I got to say what's in my mind. And that is what is on my mind. Is that I look like Crypt? Maybe I just feel like a Crypt Keeper. And I'll tell you why everything was so crazy last night. Well, I told everybody last week, Lucky got that little hot spot on his face. My dog Lucky got the hot spot on the face. It became infected. I had to go to the vet, and he's on the way. He's doing better. He's healing, but the guy loves to scratch the spot on his face. And I've put the donut on. He keeps getting it off because I can't actually find his collar, so I can't attach the collar to the donut. But last night I woke up at like, I don't know, 12:31 a.m., and he is just going at his face, just scratching. And then I look, there is blood on the bed. So I had to wake up. I couldn't go back to sleep with that in the bed. And so I take off all the sheets, and then I couldn't fall asleep the rest of the night. Lucky kept scratching his face, and I kept telling Lucky, please stop scratching your face. So that is why I'm so tired today. And that is why this Monday feels like a Monday. I'm just venting at this point. So thank you, everybody, for letting me vent, because I needed to do it. I wanted to do it all show, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it with Chris because I knew where that would lead me, and especially with the guys, the Aztec football players in studio. Can't be talking about that with them either. Let's do a little, Joseph said, daily gripe for the whole show. Maybe. I'm in that type of mood, let me tell you. When I'm tired, I am a huge baby. I've got to say, the older I get, the more I'm aware of how my moods will impact my demeanor. And being tired is something that makes me short-fused, angry, and a little crazy. And that's what I am today. Castro is here. Dan is here. Joe is here. M. McKee is here. Maria is here. Repping the Scrabinators, it says. Dominic is here. Let's see. Keep going. Rod is here, of course. Matt is here. Kevin is here. Let's see. Who else we got in here? Dwayne is here. Jeff is here. And Katie's here. I'm missing someone, I know. But Jeff says, I have bags under my eyes all the time, dude. Don't stress it too much. This is why I love this show. I didn't really... I try... I don't really want to say these things just because they're uncomfortable to talk about for me. But I know that people are going to have some good things to say. So thank you very much for that, Jeff. For that nice thing that you said about me. Matt says, everyone is so tired today. I didn't get home from Inglewood until 12:30 a.m. That is pretty late, I gotta say. That leads me to something else. And Rod, you're not chopped liver. I did mention you. So on Friday night, I don't know how many other people didn't see the end of the game. And yes, I'm a bad Padres fan because I didn't see the end of the game. I went to bed after the 8th inning thinking Robert Suarez is coming in with, or not Robert Suarez, blanking on the guy who came in. 5-run lead for the Padres. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to wake up tomorrow, 7-2 win. Good win for the Padres. Well, like I said, I realized that when I woke up, I had a bunch of texts saying, Manny, with like exclamation points. I'm like, oh no, did he get hurt? What happened? And I, then went and looked at the score and saw that it was 10-8. And I was thinking, this is insane. How is it 10-8 when I went to bed when they were leaving 7-2? Well, then I looked and I got caught up in everything. And then I saw what Jurickson Profar did, which is hit the home run to tie it up 8-8. And then the very next highlight was Manny Machado leaning back on that home run. And that was awesome, I got to say, because it looked like Manny really, really enjoyed that one. And so that was awesome, waking up to all of that. But the rest of the weekend, it's not that I didn't see fire. That's not my thing. And losses are definitely going to happen. But I feel like yesterday, when it was a tie game, obviously they had a chance at a tight game. But in the 7th inning, when Dylan Cease walked, he had a walk to start the inning. And then he gave up the home run to Suarez, Eugenio Suarez, 2-run bomb. And then the floodgates open and Iñigo de los Santos comes in and gives up a bunch of runs. And I can't quite put my finger on what bothered me about yesterday, but I don't know that I can see. I don't know that Mike Schilt has, he doesn't really have set circumstances for when he uses his relievers. And that's fine. I mean, I don't mind if you change it up. But there's sometimes you got Jeremiah Estrada in the 6th inning. Sometimes you got Yuki Matsui in the 8th inning when he's been pitching in the 6th inning or 5th inning or 7th inning. And I really felt like I've seen Mike Schilt take out guys for a lot less. And I know that Chris kind of just said, whatever, it happens. But those are the type of games that we're going to look back on, like, maybe not this specific one because they lost 9-1, but I think these are the type of games that they're going to look back on thinking, man, if we would have made this decision here. And I know you can't go back in time and change things, so you just accept it and move on. But these small games are going to be huge at the end of the year. And losing this series to the Diamondbacks is not going to make me go crazy. It's disappointing, but it's not going to make me go crazy because obviously they still have some season left and they're on a roll right now, and you're going to lose series. I just didn't feel, I don't know what it was about yesterday's loss that really irked me. It really irked me. Neil makes a good point. The same Diamondbacks took care of the Dodgers. They are hot right now. You're right. You absolutely are right. They are hot right now, and Christian Walker's incredibly, I mean, he hit like, I don't know, 5 home runs or something like that over the series with the Dodgers. And the Diamondbacks, I should say this too. They're not a pushover team at all. They're a pretty good team. They made the World Series last year, so obviously they got guys that can play. But there was just something yesterday that I didn't like, and I'll get over it because the next game will be tomorrow, and I'll forget all about this. But if the Padres like miss out on a playoff by 1 game or something like that, it's not this specific game yesterday, but it's games where small decisions turn into big consequences. And I don't know that that's happened a lot this year. I would actually have to go through the schedule now that we're going this direction. I'd actually go through the schedule and see. Like the Colorado game where Wandy Peralta allowed the Rockies to take the lead late in the game. That game is maybe going to haunt them one day. Oh, Ruben says the Rockies sweep. Yes, the Rockies sweep is brutal. Oh, Dominic says, okay, let's talk about this. Dominic says, in-game interviewing some dude about his bro movie irked me. All right, let's talk about, maybe that's what it was. Maybe I was irked by the broadcast yesterday. And the broadcast was on Roku. And number one, again, I don't think this is the best thing for baseball by splitting up all their games on all these different apps. Because if I can't find it, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people can't find it. Because I'm pretty technologically sound. I can find these things. I know where to go to look for this stuff. And I was looking, could not find it. Finally went to MLB.com and it was the free game of the day. So that worked out for me. But this broadcast was so strange. It was strange to hear, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think this is why it irked me. Because you got Don like not being a Padre announcer. He had to be right down the middle because he was announcing for Roku. But it was weird to see Don getting all excited for a Diamondback hit. And it's not Don's fault. Don Orsillo has to do that. He's supposed to be neutral. When he's in the Padres booth, he's supposed to love the Padres. Maybe that was it. I think that may have been it. It sounded just so weird. But anyway, back to the interviews. I'm not really bad. I'm not really mad at the interviews in game. I'm mad at all of the interviews that they did because I wanted to kind of watch baseball and I don't get to hear Tom Candiotti all that often. I think he's pretty good. But it was, the Profar interview was cool. And if they stopped there, I would have been good with it. And then they interviewed the both managers, which is fine, but it was like all back to back to back to back to back. There was zero baseball being broadcast. It was all about the interviews. And then you have just weird stuff going on in this broadcast. I think that's what it was. I think that's what it was for sure. Rod says, Roku sucked. Didn't look or sound comfortable. Change the setting for Jesse Agler. Oh, I got to change the setting for Jesse Agler. I didn't know that I could do that. What's worse, though, Apple TV or Roku? I'm going to go with Roku because I didn't know you could do the Jesse Agler setting. Apple TV at least lets you listen to the radio broadcast as you're watching the game and it's all synced up. I think that's pretty cool. But back to the interviews. I've never, I don't even, I can't even tell you who they interviewed yesterday. And that's not me trying to say, not me trying to be a meanie. But I have no idea who this guy was. And they talked to him for a long time about his movie. And I just didn't care. I wanted to see the baseball. I wanted to hear Don. Anyway, can you tell I'm going to rant a lot tonight? Because I am 100% in rant mode tonight. So everybody says they listen to the game on the radio. So I do love that. Dan says, are the Padres over 500? Yes, they are. Profar playing great? Yes, they are. Merrill made the All-Star game? Yes, they are. Says LFGSD, be happy. I get it. Prolific says he's questioning Don's loyalty. Don't question Don's loyalty. Don knows where his bread's buttered, I would think. Putting words in Don Orsillo's mouth, but he loves calling home runs that go into Sea of San Diego. Come on. All right, so when we get back, we are going to talk Padres, I promise. We're going to talk about the All-Star Game selections. We're also going to talk about Eniel de los Santos and why he's there and why he's with the team. And it all comes back to something that happened before the year. So we'll get into that on the Skraby Show. Thanks to everybody who's joining me. We'll be back shortly on 97.3 The Fan.
Fresher Camarena waiting patiently in that left-handed batter's box. Now Scherzer comes set. The 1-2 pitch is hit in the air to deep right field. Oh no, you better believe it. It's gonna go! A grand slam for Daniel Camarena in his second major league at bat off of Max Scherzer. And it's 8-6.
Get the swag chain out for Daniel Camarena. I tell you what, talk about getting the foot down. Fastball down and in, a lefty sweet spot, and the chain is spinning, folks. This is a ball game.
3 years ago today, Daniel Camarena had the Slammarena game. I can tell you that I was on pre and post for that day. And when they went down a bunch, I was not looking forward to my job because they were losing at the time a lot. And so I was recapping a lot of losses and a lot of bad losses. But that hit by Daniel Camarena seriously might be one of the most unexpected sports moments in the last, for me at least, 10 years. I don't want to say ever, but that was just so, because I remember they didn't pinch hit for him. And there was Odd Thomas was in here who used to work with us. And I go, why aren't they pinch hitting for Daniel Camarena? The bases are loaded. They need to get back in this. Why are they not pinch hitting? And then Daniel Camarena hits the grand slam and makes me look stupid. But Jesse's call of this, I think, accurately captures everyone's feelings on this whole thing, because it was like so much shock and so much surprise, but at the same time, you're extremely excited. So listen to this one more time.
The 1-2 pitch is hit in the air to deep right field. Oh no, you better believe it. It's gonna go! A grand slam for Daniel Camarena in his second major league at bat off of Max Scherzer. And it's 8-6.
I think the best part is off of Max Scherzer, because we're all thinking it. He just hit a grand slam off of Max Scherzer. Anyway, thank you to Moises on the chat for... thank you to him for suggesting that to me, because I didn't realize that 3 years ago today was that game. That's pretty awesome. Joseph says unexpected but electrifying. Off Scherzer did make it actually made it even crazier. You're right, Dominic. All right. Let's see what else we got going on in here. I would like to say real quick though, to my little nieces who I see that they are watching, or I've been notified that they are watching. So hello to you, and I will be seeing you soon. I can't wait to hang out, and you better be nice to me. That's all I have to say. So Adeline and Rosie, hope you're enjoying the show. Please give it a thumbs up, and make sure that you also like the show on YouTube. That would be great. Thank you to those two. Love them very, very, very much. All right, let's get back to some Padres talk. And I was saying, excuse me, I was talking about Enel de los Santos and why we're in this situation with Enel de los Santos. And when he was acquired by the Padres, we all kind of looked at things and we all kind of felt okay about it, because he's had good success over the years. Coming into this year, the most home runs he had ever that was not English. He had ever given up in a season was in 2021 when he gave up 8. He had 7 for when he was with the Phillies. He gave up 7 with the Phillies, and he also gave up 1 with the Pirates later in the year. And then the next year, pitching for the Guardians, he only gave up 3 home runs in 50 appearances. And then in 2023, he had 70 appearances, and he only gave up 4 home runs. This year, he's already given up 10 home runs. And this year, we know it's been frustrating. It has been absolutely frustrating. He's also given up 19 earned runs this year. In his career, I mean, he gave up 25 in 2021, 18 in 2022, 26 in 2023. So he has good numbers. His numbers with the Padres have not been great, and situationally has not been great either. But the reason that the Padres are in this circumstance and predicament is because they had to cut all the money possible from the budget. And what did they do? They got rid of Scott Barlow. Came in last year at the trade deadline. They got Scott Barlow for a rental kind of thing. And then they needed to move him out because he makes too much money. Scott Barlow was going to cut too much into the what is the collective bargaining tax? I don't know if I said that correctly, but Scott Barlow is making $6.7 million this year. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at what Enyel De Los Santos is making, it's a huge savings for them. And so they kind of had to do this. They had to get rid of Scott Barlow in order to bring in a guy of equal value, and he was going to be a lot cheaper. Enyel De Los Santos this year is making $1.16 million. So the Padres saved $5 million right there, cutting off getting under that tax threshold so that they're not charged the crazy penalty that happens in the third year. And the payroll being reduced this year is something I don't know that we're giving it enough credit. I don't know that we're giving enough credit to the fact that they had to cut a lot of money from this team, and they did so by moving Juan Soto. I keep saying getting rid of, but trading Juan Soto and doing some other moves that were cutting moves. They had to let Nick Martinez go. They had to let Seth Lugo go. They had to let Michael Wacha go. I don't know that we are giving them enough credit for being where they're at in this season while having to cut all of the money that they cut and getting rid of all of the players that they had to turn away from because they just couldn't afford it. And so at the time, I really thought the Enyel De Los Santos deal was a good deal for the Padres because they're basically getting the same pitcher for a lot less. And he entered yesterday's game in the ninth inning with the bases loaded, nobody out. He gave up the 5 runs. Padres trailed 9-1. He actually, leading up to that point, see, this is why I read the Kevin Acee newsletter, because he kind of breaks it down. And I don't realize these things in the moment, but once I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, huh. He yesterday ended a streak of 6 straight inherited runners stranded for De Los Santos. He has a 4.75 ERA and has now allowed 12 of 28 inherited runners to score. So 42.9% of the inherited runners that he inherits, he ends up letting them score. No Padres reliever has inherited more runners, nor allowed more to score, which I really think the 43%, the 42.9%, the 12 of 28 inherited runners to scoring, that's a huge number. That's very concerning to me. Because you can't bring Enyel De Los Santos into a game where they're leading by a run or two. I just can't trust him in those situations. And it seems like, during a baseball season, it's going to go up and down. And pitchers are going to struggle. Pitchers are going to be great. But it just seems, as of late, like the Padres pitching, the relief pitching is one day great, the next day not. And the consistency is what they need to find in the second half. Because if they don't find the consistency, we're going to have a lot of situations like we had yesterday. And you gotta, after 7 innings or 6 and whatever innings for Dylan Cease yesterday, pitched a really good game. And then he goes out of the game, and then all of a sudden they score 8 runs. It's just a lot. I don't know if they scored 8 runs. They scored less than that, but 5 runs off of Enyel De Los Santos. And so you could go back to the fact that they had to acquire him because they needed to cut the payroll. And I'm not saying Scott Barlow would do any better. I'm not saying that at all. But I did expect a little bit more from De Los Santos, and I think we will get more going forward, but I don't know that I could really, really, really trust him in a situation right now that is either they're down to, up to, anything like that. And McKee says, considering budget constraints and the injuries, 4 games over 500 is amazing. I agree. It is kind of amazing. I never really stopped to think about it like that. Joseph says, our pitching is tied for 6th in home runs giving up, tied with the Rockies. But how many home runs has the Padres hit this year? We should look that up, too. All right. We have so much more to go. I always run out of time, but I'm going to head to break. When we get back, we're going to talk about this Bronny James thing. We're also going to talk about Paul Skeens. I know that's what everybody's waiting for. And we'll quickly talk about Joe Burrow's idea for if they go to 18-game regular season in the NFL. So all of that is ahead here. You're listening to The Skraby Show. I'm Matt Skraby. It's 97.3 The Fan. couple things before we get into Paul Skeens. I'm Matt Skraby. Thank you for joining the Skraby Show. 97.3 The Fan. Padres off day. After losing a series to the Snakes, as they say. I don't like calling them snakes because I don't like snakes. I like calling them the Diamondbacks because it's way easier to think of it as a Diamondback than a snake. Anyway, there have been some chatter on the YouTube chat about macaroni and cheese and who has the best macaroni and cheese. I gotta tell you guys are making me very, very, very hungry. Looking at this mac and cheese talk on the chat, they're saying you have to add bacon to it. Man, I love mac and cheese, but it's got to be. Maybe this is controversial. I don't know if I've ever said this before, but I love eating cold mac and cheese. Like, I make mac and cheese, or when I did make mac and cheese, it's been a while. But when I made mac and cheese, I would immediately put it into a container and into the fridge so that I could eat it cold later. I know that's kind of strange. And I'm going to look to the chat in a second to see where I'm at with people thinking I'm crazy. But that is something that I've done for a long, long time. I just don't know why. The warm mac and cheese sometimes just doesn't hit the spot. I don't know. It's very strange. I am a very strange human being. If you want to follow me on social media, you can at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRAB as in boy, Y. And you could also go to YouTube right now, watch the show, just search 97.3 The Fan. Or you can go to Facebook, 97.3 The Fan, X 97.3 The Fan SD. And McKee says she likes cold mac and cheese too. Okay, I'm not alone here. But we know that we have 5 All-Stars from the Padres heading to Texas next week to compete in the All-Star game. And the 5, I mean, for a team that's only 4 games over 500, 5 players is a lot. And Jackson Merrill was one of them, which I'm really happy. And I put this on X yesterday. I'm really happy that we get to talk about Jackson Merrill, the All-Star, and not Jackson Merrill, the snub. Because I was watching, I think Mike Pomerantz was making this point the other day. And it was, if you were to take away his name, Jackson Merrill I'm talking about, if you were to take away his name, take away his picture, just put numbers up there, that person would be an all-star reserve for sure. And I really felt like they were going to snub him because he is a rookie, and they didn't, which is it was very surprising to me, just because these things don't seem to work out in the favor of the Padres. But they got it right. And I have to say that Jackson Merrill, as a rookie, I think what he has done this year and how consistent he has been this year, it's different. Paul Skeens is a pitcher. He pitches for the Pirates. Jackson Merrill's an outfielder. And not many people know that Jackson Merrill around baseball, I mean, a lot of people know, but the casual fans around baseball don't know that Jackson Merrill just started playing the outfield in like March or February. So that tells me something. Not to mention that he's played, let's see, how many games has he played this year so far? He's played in 90 games this year so far. Paul Skeens has made 10 starts. I just don't, I understand why Paul Skeens is for lack of a better term, eye candy for Major League Baseball. They want people to know who Paul Skeens is. But I don't think that what Paul Skeens has done this year is as impressive as what Jackson Merrill is doing. And the reason I think that is because to play for 90 games, hit 288, 12 home runs, 46 RBIs, I mean, what he's doing, the home runs alone for Jackson Merrill are incredible. And it's not easy to be a pitcher in Major League Baseball. Trust me. I don't know, but I do know. It's not easy. So what I'm not, this isn't a Paul Skeens thing. This is a media thing. The media really loves to push people down our throats when they think something's cool and flashy and shiny and all, a shiny object and all of that. And the reason I think they're pushing it down, and yes, again, he throws 100 miles an hour, but as I said with Matt Snyder, I was reading a baseball newsletter this morning, and they were going over all these different Paul Skeens things. Remember that time that he struck out Ohtani with 3 straight 100-mile-an-hour pitches? Well, they didn't say, remember that time when Ohtani came up in the third inning after striking out and they hit a monster home run, 2-run shot? No one says that. That's the media not reporting everything. If you're going to talk about how great he is, you also have to put in the stuff like, oh, yeah, and then he gave up a home run to Ohtani next to bat, or Ohtani got him back the next to bat, or something like that. You can't just say he struck him out 3 times and that was it. Because that's not what happened. There was much more than that. So I went and I looked through Paul Skeens' game log, and I went and I looked at I looked at a couple different things, but the one thing that stood out to me was that he is 5-0, which is great. He has a 2.12 ERA, which is great. He's got 78 strikeouts in 10 starts. That's good. And his whip is 1.01. Again, 10 starts. If he had 20 starts, or if he had started the year and done this, I would have no problem crowning Paul Skeens the darling of the All-Star game. But I do have a problem with it when you haven't done as much as others. Paul Skeens in game 1, while he was in the game, his team scored 6, the other team scored 1. They win. Game 2, his team scored 8, the other scored 0 while he was in the game. I'm saying this is happening while he's still in the game and not a final score. His third game, they scored 5, the other team scored 1. The fourth game, they scored 5, the other team scored 2. In the fifth game, the Pirates scored 7, the other team scored 3. In game 6, it was a 0-0 thing while he was in there. Game 7, Pirates scored 4, the other team scored 1. And then games 8 and 9, it was 1 Pirates run to the opponent's 1 run. And then game 10, 4 runs scored for the Pirates and then 2 against. So 41 total runs scored while he was in the game and pitching. And 12 scored against him. And now the whole thing with the run support is a little weird to me, because it does seem like certain pitchers don't get run support at all. Like Blake Snell last year, I think, was one of those guys who didn't get run support at all. And Matt Waldron at times has not gotten run support. But Paul Skeens, it's a different thing. I got ahead of myself. I was like, It's a different thing. Because when he's pitching with a 6-run lead, it's way different than pitching a closer game. And again, you can't really prove that, I guess. But the media is trying to make us love Paul Skeens. And I don't get it. Other than the fact that his girlfriend, Livy Dunn, has a huge following, and they're trying to do the Taylor Swift stuff. They're trying to do what the NFL did with Taylor Swift and use all of the exposure from her followers and her people that, are on Instagram and X and all this other stuff. They really want this to work because they want their own Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing. And it's not going to work, number one, because Livy Dunn is not as famous as Taylor Swift. I don't know that there's anyone as famous as Taylor Swift. I really don't know. And this is why Paul Skeens is probably going to start the All-Star game. Do I think he's deserving to start the All-Star game? Probably not. But Jackson Merrill is someone I think that he was actually because it was also nice. Adam and I were texting this morning, and Adam, if you don't know who Adam is, he's my boss. We were texting this morning. He said, it's nice that they already had guys selected to the team so that Jackson Merrill wasn't the one Padre that was sent to the All-Star game. He actually earned his way onto the All-Star team. And he did that through consistent play all season long, big moments all season long, and the fact that he's found a place with the Padres that I think he loves and I think he thrives in, and I think all the other guys love it too, and I think they thrive around him. I think Jerks and Profar he was talking about it yesterday during the interview. Actually, Jerks and Profar's interview yesterday was pretty interesting because he was talking about Jackson Merrill, and he was saying that Jackson Merrill kind of directs people around the outfield, and that he loves Jackson. He loves that he gets it. He said he plays, older than he really is. And that's a good thing for the Padres, and that's a good thing for the Padres fan base, because I definitely like my young superstars to be, I guess, more mature instead of some of the other guys that are, either suspended or whatever around the league. But this, again, is not a Paul Skeens thing. this is a Paul Skeens media thing, and I'm tired of it. I am tired of it. I also saw someone saying that Francisco Lindor got snubbed from the All-Star team. And then they were saying, well, Jackson Merrill made the All-Star team. How did Francisco Lindor not make the All-Star team? Wasn't Francisco Lindor hitting under 200 until, like, June? You can't be an All-Star if you're hitting 200 into the month of June. I'm sorry, you just can't. Did Pete Alonso deserve to go? Probably not. But Pete Alonso is, more consistent this year. Really annoying. It's really, really annoying. Cactus Man said he's tired of it, Grandpa. I don't know if he's talking about me being Grandpa, but I guess I am kind of a grandpa when I'm yelling at the clouds. Yelling at the clouds. I just don't like it when the media chooses what I should be loving. And maybe that's why my entire life I choose the opposite side. It's not like I try to be a contrarian. It's just how my brain works. And so maybe through time, that is how my brain developed, was to go the opposite way. But yeah, it was a lot this weekend with the Paul Skeens talk. And then I'm looking at TV earlier today, and it's Paul Skeens. All right, I'm sounding like a jilted friend or something of Paul Skeens. Let's get to this. I don't know if I want to do the Bronny thing right now. Let's not do the Bronny thing right now. Let's do the Joe Burrow thing. We've already talked about Bronny enough. Bronny will be here. But the NFL is actually thinking about going to 18 games, which I'm starting to get a little tired of the NFL. Will I ever stop watching? Probably not, because I love my 49ers a lot. But they want to go to 18 games. They just expanded to 17 games, which I thought is cool. But 18 games just seems like a lot. But Joe Burrow thinks that they should have 2 bye weeks if they go to 18 games. And he suggests that one of the byes should be around week 13 for the entire NFL, with Pro Bowl festivities that week, similar to the NBA's All-Star Weekend. Burrow believes this would boost ratings for the struggling Pro Bowl. Additionally, by adding a second bye week and an extra game, the Super Bowl would fall on the Sunday before President's Day, giving most of the country a day off after the biggest game of the year. I also am not a fan, and man, I told you I'm tired, which means that my mood is going to be cruddy, but I'm also not a fan of them keep moving the Super Bowl back. It's going to be in like the end of February before we know it. I feel like the NFL at some point is going to eat themselves. I feel like that's where they're headed. They're going to eat themselves. It's just not, I just don't know. Like, you just don't need this much money. You don't. I can't even believe that Joe Burrow is just like, all right, yeah, if they go to 18 games, then this is how it should be. I guarantee you a lot of those players are like, what? 18 games? I'm only being paid for 17. And I just don't know that we need an extra regular season game. I like the NFL having every single game matter. Every single game that they play throughout the season matters. And the more games you add, the less each game matters. But I do, here's where I agree with Joe Burrow, and here's where I've been saying for a long time. They need to already take all of the bye weeks that they have and put it in the middle of the season, week 10, something like that, and do the Pro Bowl thing. I think this would be really good. They're not actually playing the game anymore, so it's not like they're going to have to suit up to go play in a bye week. I think this would work, and it would give each and every week the same amount of teams are going to be playing. Fantasy football, you wouldn't have to deal with bye weeks. I don't know what you do for that 1 week or whatever. But I think that this can be done if they do go to 18 games. 2 bye weeks, I think, would work too, obviously, with the week 13 being a Pro Bowl festivity or anything like that. Joseph is right. I've always thought this. He says, no one should have a week 4 bye week. I've always thought about this, and I've said it many times. Like, why do they put some of these teams with week 4 bye week, and then they have to wait till like week 19 to maybe even get a bye in the playoffs? It's kind of crazy. Week 4 bye doesn't make any sense to me. All right. It's time for me to stop complaining. But that means I got one more complaint, a big complaint.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Ira says you could say contrarian, but you could just as accurately call it devil's advocate, which is maybe a more positive spin. Could be. Yeah. Either way, I'm a devil's advocate, I'm a contrarian, whatever. But I appreciate that, Ira. All right. See, I know I'm getting all over the place. Seabass says the year is 2070. NFL has 30 weeks of games, and the players now suggest that they hear voices in their head. Yes. All right. Oh, my daily gripe. That's what I was doing. So my daily gripe is this. It's very simple. It's when like employees ignore me, and what I mean by this is, as everybody knows, I like to frequent my convenience stores, but I went up to buy something, and the person was standing there, and they were like on their phone, and I'm just standing there for a good like 45 seconds while they're on their phone. So I finally said, "Hey, are you open?" And they said, "Oh yeah, I'm open." But why should I have to ask that? I'm standing right in front of you. You like literally can see me standing right in front of you. Why are you not at least helping me? But I do like these new in 7-Eleven. They have their own self-checkout things, so I don't have to deal with this anymore. But I don't know. It's so annoying to me. Maybe it's not annoying to anyone else, but it's very annoying to me. All right, that's it for the Skraby Show. We will be back tomorrow. More Skraby Show on Thursday. Thanks to everyone who joined me. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Hey, it's Annie from Annie and Elston. I'll bring my perspective from years of covering the Padres to